I think we first wanted to start off by asking, how does it feel to live in Chloe Swarbrick's shadow?
You didn't think you'd have Sydney Sweeney's name on your head this afternoon?
No, but actually not.
Do you want to crack into that chili bin over there?
The chili bin.
Your glass is a bit far off. You see it?
Oh, look.
Oh,
Johnny Cash, danger. Can you pass me my glass, please?
that's a non-alky,
Oh,
just
that's
in
a
case he wants
It
non-alky.
doesn't even say, it says alcohol removed, so it was once
It was
in there.
once alcoholic, yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is, we've got the cheapest wine this time, actually.
Gorge.
$8.60, I think.
That's great.
Pretty reasonable.
I actually had a BYO on Friday, and I did try to find the wine that we had last time because it was so easy
It was
to
so
drink.
drinkable.
But I couldn't find it, so I just went for my squealing pig.
Squealing pig.
And then what
Yeah.
wine did you have?
The squealing pig.
This reminds me of like a cigarette pack where they've
Yeah.
just taken the bare minimum.
don't
The
have
new
laws.
alcohol laws
I don't
that
think
Chloe
so.
might bring in.
Yeah.
Maybe this will be the new norm.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah. Boring.
Chloe rocking the DJ decks last night?
It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Wicka, wicka.
Some people were like, doesn't she have like a job?
That is her job.
Yeah,
And
sounds-
I said, that is her job.
She's finessing.
Connecting with the people.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry,
Chloe
I opened
Swizz.
it.
Oh, of course.
Oh,
That's
okay.
that's the point. ZAZI.
I thought you were going to say, oh, sorry, I drank all of it.
Yeah.
For
Sorry,
like 2
it's gone.
seconds.
I just chugged it.
Yeah.
How were your weeks, guys?
Yes. Good.
Can I interest you in some white?
Oh, I wouldn't say no.
I wouldn't say no
Oh,
either.
okay. I'll be selfish. And...
Yeah, sorry, you go for it. How's my week been? Well, you know, lovely. Thank
Lovely.
you.
Keeping a lot of the details to yourself
Well, it's more like, you know, when you just can't remember
What
what
happened.
you've had in that week. Yeah.
here. TUVA'A's been... Oh, sorry.
yes.
You're still going.
No, I had nothing left to say.
How's work?
Oh, no, I'm curious now.
Okay,
What's
okay,
happened
yeah.
here?
What have you been up to?
I've just been at Kayak Nationals this weekend.
Oh,
And,
true.
yeah, I just drove up got here in Auckland half an hour ago.
I saw some pretty good-looking stories.
Yeah, you know,
yeah, out there.
lots of resharing and
Yeah, yeah.
more resharing.
Was that you with your sister?
Yeah, me and my
That is
sister.
so sick.
We
Oh my
we ended up
gosh.
getting 5th though.
That's pretty good though.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Unless there were only 5.
No, no, luckily not.
I asked the question about how your guys' weeks were because I mainly wanted to tell you.
Oh yeah,
about,
how did your week go?
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry. How was your week,
the
Donald?
experience I had going to a boy band covering scissor songs.
I
White
feel like
men,
last time
boys.
you also said you went to like a weird party.
I did. I went to a weird party
You
last
have like
week.
one interesting thing happen to you each week, which is quite... Anyway, back
It's a
to
bit
your
rude.
thing.
I saw a movie, Challenges. Oh, get yourself
Oh,
the
I heard
challenges.
it's really good.
Boys,
With
girls, and everyone in
Zendaya.
With
between.
Zendaya, yeah.
Mama, may I?
Beautifully
Oh, we
shot,
could ask
beautifully
Ricardo about
written.
that.
Yeah, let's ask him if he's
About
gonna.
Challenges.
I don't think it came out on Thursday.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, yeah, I was there, opening night.
Opening night. Maybe he was. He's a film guy, isn't he?
Apparently so. He was the film projectionist at a cinema for like 10 years.
Wow.
Before he became a politician.
We're
Yeah.
gonna nab his top 4.
Yes.
See what?
So speaking to Ricardo today, did we say that?
No.
No, okay.
No.
From the Green Party.
Yep.
Yep.
He's
Yeah.
been around since about 2017, sort of working his way up their ranks.
And earlier.
I have
Just
no
not in
idea who he
politics.
is.
Yeah. he said he's never heard his voice.
I've never heard him speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen quotes though, you know, on Insta.
Oh,
You know,
yeah?
Like Ricardo said this.
What does he say?
Oh, I don't know. It's just, you know, shit you should care about or someone
Yeah,
like
some
quoted.
that Green Party
Political
Propaganda.
editing.
propaganda. Yeah.
Ah, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Wait, no, but you was talking about a boy band before.
Some of that
We
woke.
apologise for the crickets in the last episode. You might hear them again. They might just be the background of all these
That
episodes.
is just nature.
Yeah, nature. We're in touch with the natural world around us. The boy band, white boys, singing scissor songs. They were surprisingly good.
Wait, where was this?
It was in the tuning fork just
This
before
sounds like
scissor
a
started.
TikTok.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, who needs scissor when you've got 4 white Aucklanders?
Totally. Who
Boy
needs
band.
scissor when you don't have to pay $400?
It was free.
What kind of music did they?
I think normally they shout out to Borderline, Stream Borderline.
Okay. Yep.
Can I just say that this is way nicer than that more expensive one?
Is it?
Yeah, it's just like way easier to drink.
Wait,
It's not like that
cheers.
sweet. That was like
No.
we were drinking sugar.
That other stuff was horrendous. Yeah.
I just wanted to cheers.
Oh, sorry to leave you hanging.
No, it's alright, guys.
Sounds good.
Yep, beautiful. Yeah.
If Jacob Collier was here, he'd be like, "That's a C sharp."
Yes, you would. And you go, I'm recording that. I'm putting that on my new album.
Yeah.
Just the Jacob Collier, up to date
Reference.
hip references. Jacob
Yeah.
Collier.
It kind of sounds like this boy band should be on TikTok, FYI.
I'm sure they are. It was
Yeah.
my first introduction to them.
Yeah.
They did a great cover of a 1975 song. They clearly just want to be the
So they're
1975.
good. Not to already sound shady.
They are lovely.
Okay. That's really nice of you to say, Donna. That's a really high compliment.
Anything else exciting? You tore your leg or something. You tore your leg
I
off.
just literally what? Because we played in Pakuranga, so it was maybe 30 minutes ago. As soon as I started playing, just like ruined the quads, and I was like to my coach, "Hey, can I get subbed off?" And she's like, "No, you can't. We've only got one sub, and you're leaving at half time, so you're staying on." I'm like, "Great."
Now that right there's a real coach. You know, it doesn't matter how injured you are.
Yeah,
Stay on that field.
stay on
you
that
know.
field, and so
Tom would do that.
Yeah. He would.
Old mate.
Old
Old
mate
mate
Tom.
I miss him.
Yeah.
I miss him just being right there.
I'm sitting where
Folded
he's
in
at.
half.
I know.
And there will always be some sort of inequities in the system.
About towering over him.
Yeah.
The first-
I wasn't trying to like intimidate him or anything. I was just sitting like that.
You've just got sports person posture.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I'm
Extremely
gonna.
accurate.
We've got iPhone
Yeah.
posture. Oh, you've got sports posture. Not any
No, well, look at me. I have to.
hobble. I just
Yeah.
realised, I think we said we'd meet Ricardo on the street, so maybe we should actually head up, just so he doesn't walk into the halfway house. Now, it really is cheap. This is the $8,
Don't worry.
almost brandless.
Because I don't drink a lot of wine, I'm like oblivious to whether a wine is
It's
like
good or
a
not.
good
Yeah,
wine
yeah,
or
good.
not a good
What
wine.
do you drink?
Like, to be honest, if I'm drinking, like, I only commit to drinking if I'm going out clubbing,
Yeah.
and then I'll just drink really
that.
cheap stuff.
Hey, that's the name of the show.
Yeah.
Mostly beer, cheap beer. But
beer.
yeah. I'm like probably quite stereotypical in that I'll probably go for a like sol, which to be honest in Mexico I get roasted for choosing that because it's not considered like a good beer back at home.
Yeah.
But and if not, I'll just drink like old people like strong liquor. Like I'm a fan of like that sweet,
A good old whiskey.
like a sherry. You know?
Oh,
like,
sherry,
yeah.
Real old people.
Yeah, real old
yeah.
people stuff. Yeah.
Damn.
Okay.
I don't even think Gen Zs know what sherry is.
Google Sherry.
Sherry. Well, I think we first wanted to start off by asking, how does it feel to live in Chloe Swarbrick's shadow?
Look, I don't think we're more like backup singers, and that's
That's
kind
a
of
good
how I
one.
think of it. And I'm quite okay and happy with that because ultimately, I think, like I've worked in Parliament for MPs before being an MP myself, and I just know the importance of supporting our colleagues to shine and the role that we play in supporting our colleagues to shine. And quite frankly, I don't envy Chloe's complete lack of anonymity whenever she hits out. And it's kind of nice actually to like still be in pockets of our communities and know that you won't get stopped every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that actually is something I treasure and that I hope I never fully lose. Yeah.
So can you go to the supermarket without being hassled?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Depends which supermarket I go
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
And your electorate? And your electorate? if you
Less
go-
so,
Yeah,
yeah,
so, yeah.
less so.
There are people like, my pavement. Let me talk to you about my pavement.
No, luckily I'm not known as a transport guy, so like I don't get
yeah.
those things.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll get like the incredibly complex immigration issues or welfare stuff. So yeah, like I would get like the
Oh, like the heavy on
the heavy
go.
stuff. Yeah. And you're just like in the supermarket talking about
You're like, okay, which cheese? Neither. And then boom, someone's
It's
coming
more
at you.
just been like, hey, look, like that sounds really sensitive. Do you want to like email me? Because like, do you want to be
yes,
talking
yeah.
I
about
can't do
like
this
such
in the
intimate
supermarket,
stuff in the
yeah.
supermarket? Yeah, like, but I get it, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is like one of the few countries I assume that you can kind of just like walk to your MP
It's
without
crazy.
security and talk to them. And it is something that I do think we should protect, but it does make for some pretty like random
Yes.
encounters. Yeah.
Yeah.
From what I understand in places like the UK, like you can't go to the supermarket and stuff, like do those normal chores. And I think it would be awful. And the fact that we can kind of just still overall carry through our lives in a normal way. Yeah, does mean that people kind of find it quite surreal. And I think a lot of the people I work with, like a lot of migrants who do come from countries where like, yeah, like politicians would be surrounded by security guards. They find it like really weird if I get into an Uber and they're like, oh, like, holy crap, like I'm with an MP, like this is really like, like intense. They change the tone and all. But to me, it's just like, I think that just feels normal rather than this like.
Well, it's just mind blowing that we have, like for this, we've got MPs showing up from all these different parties to our door, just knocking on the door and going, hey,
Yeah.
I'm here for the podcast.
Yeah,
No
like that.
press, no, like,
No security.
It's just like great. you
Yeah.
know,
It's like that Hillary Clinton meme.
Oh, when
Her
she's
just
walking through the house?
Yeah. It's like half of my time.
I saw you doing that in our
Yeah.
hallway.
Probably.
They would like to know.
No, I was only so bold with my question because I feel like I haven't really seen much of you in the media, like compared to, I would say, Chloe or
And
Marama.
it's interesting because, like, I mean, co-leaders will always get more media, right? Like, it's interesting because I kind of feel I probably used to be more visible in the media before being an MP
Right.
than being an MP. And that's completely fair enough. Like, I think in some ways, a lot of media will be looking for the non-politician representatives on issues. And politicians then become kind of like, unless you're kind of like a press gallery journalist, like I think you'll just be this sort of like the added contribution to an issue. New Zealand has also such a small and actually diminishing media landscape. The opportunities actually to be present in the media are not huge here. Yeah.
And for that reason, do you want to tell people who might not know who you are? Give
Sure.
them what we
Love
you know,
it.
the
I do
elevator
not like
pitch,
assuming
what's
people
your
know who we
pitch?
are.
you know, because some people might be seeing you for the first time.
Well, kia ora, my name is Ricardo Menéndez. I'm a Green Party MP, and I mostly work on issues around migrant workers' rights and on issues around income support. I used to work with homeless people and people on the benefit before being an MP, but actually the job I held the longest was in hospitality. So I worked as a projectionist for about 7 years, and through some of that time, which will show like my true millennial age, it was still during the time of proper projectors. So I was one of the last people who actually got to work with
Proper
film.
film.
Yeah,
wow.
before those got phased
Where
out.
was that? Was that?
Just up the road by the
Capital.
Capitol Cinema.
Capital.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
That's our.
Cool.
That's,
So,
that's our local.
The
and we were
local,
one of the
yeah.
last cinemas to actually still hold on to film, which is why I got a chance to work with it. Yeah.
Cool.
So you'll know what Letterboxd is then.
I would hope. Wait, this is the like as in.
Not like the thing you put your letters.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I am.
You know.
I'm
what-
like
know what
maybe
that
older,
is.
but I'm.
in touch with it.
yeah. It's
those.
like.
No, the app. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I'm familiar with it. I don't use it, but
No, that's
yes,
okay.
yeah.
But something they do is they ask for celebrity people's top 4 films.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I always despair when people are like, tell me your top 3 books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, like I think James Shaw or someone was like into like got asked by the spin-off, and I was like, please don't ask me. Like I don't want to reveal that I don't consume much like books or
Yeah.
film for that matter. Yeah.
Just sweating as you're
Well,
like, yeah.
come on. Hit us with what comes straight to your mind.
Maybe not top 4, but movies you like.
Yeah.
To be honest,
They don't-
I'm probably more of a TV show kind of
yeah,
guy.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah, like, I mean, mostly because it's like in this job, you can kind of just like bit by bit, like rather than committing to 2 hours.
Yeah.
I've really been enjoying Spy X Family. Like, I'm actually a bit of an anime.
Oh my
kinda-
god.
yeah.
I love that show.
Great. Okay, cool. Yay.
Oh my god.
I'm-
Because that just came on Netflix as
I've
well.
never-
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so I was, oh my god.
I've been watching on
obsessed.
Crunchyroll, to be honest.
Oh,
but
yeah.
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 Nice,
Oh my God,
nice.
so good.
So
Yes.
is it mainly anime, or is there?
No.
what
Like,
else
I
is
mean,
there?
White Lotus was great.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
good. God, what else have I watched? Oh, like, I kind of enjoyed Heartstopper.
Oh, yeah,
that was
cute.
cute.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like, almost too sickly sweet. And
Yeah, there's
I
no
prob-
conflict. Nothing ever like goes wrong for them.
Oh, I mean, I think there's
What a
like,
breath of fresh air that is, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
more
An
like,
escape.
I think the conflict is just being like a team. Queer
Yeah,
teen. But it's like, I don't know, I kind of feel like I didn't go through like having my happy gay romances in high school. And
Yeah.
so I probably watched the show with equal parts joy and like a slight resentment. I'm just like, why do they get, why do they get to have
Why
this
do they
like,
have this?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of part of the appeal.
So what was your high school experience like?
Oh, I did high school in Mexico, so I'm a first generation migrant from Mexico. I came here when I was 18. And despite what my Wikipedia says, my mum is not a New Zealander. It's this weird
Oh.
conspiracy thing. So my high school experience was in Mexico, and was pretty kind of American, if that makes sense, because I grew up by the border. So like, I got the full-on like emos versus punk
Yeah, because I was gonna say
experience.
my only like idea of American high school is literally like TV show, like Mean
Yeah.
Girls,
Yeah.
like the whole
The
clique
cheerleaders.
dance.
We definitely
Yeah.
had like the goths, the jocks, like the
my
emos, the punks. Like, I was like an in-betweener, I think.
That's
but,
a lot to
um,
take in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like interesting because like I think in New Zealand, like when I came here and I talked about those experiences, like it kind of seemed to me like those cliques weren't as strong or like as defined here. Like the fact that I talked about. Remember when I talked to friends about the fact that you had emos versus punks fighting in the streets? Literally, it was like a
Wow.
whole thing in Mexico for a while. Yeah, like that's one of those cultural things that I think never translated here.
We kind of had we had a few problems at our primary school a bit like that.
Primary.
Yeah.
Emos and punks.
The
Do
We
you have,
already
do you
knew
have
who we
punks in
were.
primary school?
Wow.
No, we had the there was a bit of a conflict between the French unit and the Samoan unit. It was genuinely quite a concerning.
Oh, wait. Did you guys go to Richmond Road Primary
Yeah.
School as well? I
Yeah.
also went there.
Did you?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, I remember we hated the French.
Oh my god.
That's what I mean. I told you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was in the Samoan unit.
Were
No
you
one
in the
liked
Were you
La
in the French
Chapelle.
unit?
Yeah,
She
La
was.
Chapelle.
Okay.
I'm Switzerland.
Oh my gosh, wait. So
Okay.
we were in like
Yeah, we were enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's all right. We're friends now.
That was our version of that.
Yeah. I
Much-
mean, that
yeah.
kind of feels like layered though, like French versus
There is
someone unit,
probably a
like.
strong, intergenerational history leading
Yeah.
to that we don't need to get into now.
Like I think mine was
Yeah.
just like punks telling emos off for just being an aesthetic as opposed to like a social movement.
Right.
And I mean, you know what? Maybe there was some truth in it.
Mm-hmm,
At the same time, I think emo aesthetic is making a comeback.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so maybe one of them was actually the one that persevered. Yeah.
Maybe.
And what made your family move over to New Zealand?
I moved by myself actually.
you moved by yourself?
Yeah. I mean, it was like a very Mexican border thing where like the eldest is like the one who moves countries.
Right.
And
You didn't want to go to the States?
no. What's the swearing guidelines here? That's fine. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Sorry, I
Yeah.
was just like, we'll start swearing and then
no.
yeah, fuck no, basically. We're gonna do the answer.
Fair enough. Fair
No,
enough.
my dad almost moved to New Zealand to work. He's a psychiatrist. He almost came to work here because turns out that for decades we just didn't have enough mental health professionals in this country. But then my grandmother got cancer, and so that kind of never happened. So New Zealand happened to have slightly cheaper international education here than in some other kind of English-speaking countries. I grew up in the north, so I spoke some English enough that I could kind of confidently migrate somewhere else. But even then, I just couldn't afford the education here. So I came here as 18 years old to try and study university at Auckland Uni, dropped out because we just couldn't afford the fees.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up in hospo for a few years.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the decision. I mean, the kind of better life thing, but also Tijuana, where I was from.
Yeah.
I mean, right now has been one of the cities with the highest murder rates in the world,
Yeah.
and so that probably was one of the reasons that factored in.
And how did you sort of go into the world of politics from there? What was the path from high school Ricardo
Projectionist.
to projectionist Ricardo
Yeah.
to halls of
Yeah,
parliament?
fair
Ricardo?
enough. Like, I think It was never the plan.
Yeah.
I know this is going to sound like cliche, like it was
Yeah,
never
yeah.
the plan to
I
go
wasn't
into
trying to-
politics.
yeah,
And
yeah,
everybody
yeah.
likes to say it was never the
Yeah,
plan
it
to go
just
to
happened.
politics.
I was compelled.
Yeah. People told me and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, so I grew up, so I was always quite political, and I grew up in a very political family. And you kind of like, in the context I grew up in, it was like, you had to. Like, I grew up in the shadow of the Cold War, and like a lot of my family friends who were like involved in left-wing movements and resistance movements in Latin America against U.S. interventions. Like, I grew up with stories of like family friends disappearing and being kidnapped, and like universities that my parents were involved in, like basically having those experiences of just if you were deemed to be a dirty commie, like your life could literally be at risk. And then I also grew up with stories of a student massacre in the late 60s in Mexico that happened, and those experiences politicized me quite a bit. And so I always identified myself with progressive values, but
Proud socialist values.
a proud socialist, yeah. You know, and the ACT Party definitely likes copy-pasting
They do.
any
They like
speech.
some photoshops and some.
Yeah.
Cut to the clip.
Oh my God, sorry. Yeah, I mean, they did post a video of me just saying I was a true Marxist or something recently, yeah. But anyway, point being is that even though I was quite political, like, to be honest, I never really saw myself as involved in politics when I came here. And a lot of that had to do with, like, if you're a migrant and you come here, you kind of don't think it's like, oh yeah, like I'll join some political party or get involved in some movement. And a lot of that is because I couldn't vote. So it's kind of like, what's the point? And I know that obviously that's not the, like in hindsight, probably like I could have been like, yes, of course I have a right to be involved in political stuff. Like I live here and issues affect me, but you're kind of just caught up in surviving and thinking like, oh, like I've got to renew my visa. I may not be able to stay in the country. Like, so that kind of caught up in the day-to-day survival with the immigration system in particular, prevented me from feeling like I could be involved. But then when I got my residency in 2012, and then I was able to get the right to vote, that's when I started engaging more. And I knew I aligned myself with the Greens, but my engagement with the Greens actually came about, and it feels bloody tokenistic. I just happened to know a coworker who knew a friend who was filming the Green Party's 2014 campaign video, and they were like, "Oh, we need someone with a non-native New Zealand accent." And actually, I have no issue. I have no issue with that story, because, like, to me, what that told me, they were like, "Oh, like, do you want to be in the campaign video?" And I was like, it felt like such a huge deal for like. And I know that it wasn't a huge deal in hindsight again. Like, but at the time, it felt like such a huge deal to be asked to be in a campaign video. As tokenistic as it was, that they just needed someone with a non-native accent. And that when I went to the shooting, they then asked me to get involved as a volunteer. And again, like, for me, that felt like such a huge thing to be asked to be involved in something bigger than myself. And like, especially as a migrant, it was like, oh, like, you won me in your campaign, and like, what am I doing? I did end up doing phone banking and door knocking, but that was kind of my entryway into political stuff. And then I kind of got involved into other activist circles and other movements. But it really taught me like the power of the ask, and just asking someone if they want to be involved is actually quite huge. Because if no one had asked me at that time, it could have been years before I actually thought of getting involved in the Greens or anywhere else.
Do you think you like saw, like, across the time leading up to joining the Green Party, were you seeing things in this country that you were either upset by or things you wanted? You were like, I wish we could do that better. And
Yeah,
I mean, what sort of things were you seeing?
I have
that
Winston
made you
Peters
go,
to thank for a lot of that.
Oh
like,
my God.
Yeah, like I think.
Good old Winnie.
Yeah, good old Winnie, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
kind of no one will be surprised to know Winston Peters been bashing migrants for decades. And it was, I think it was around the 2011 election. I have like these memories, like there wasn't like a single moment, but I have those memories of watching like the 2011 election coverage on the TV at my workplace. Like we had a little TV and we just put it on during election night. I was working then, and I just remember hearing, like, it would have been online or on the coverage, like I remember hearing just Winston Peters' like speeches and comments about immigrants. And like that really riled me up. And then it was like also the national government at the time, they closed off the sibling category. So previously you could bring your siblings, and my brother passed away like very shortly after, and that made me really bitter. And then they also closed the parent category visa, which then also made me extra bitter at the government. And then migrants were always being talked about as just kind of this like disposable cogs in the machine. It's like, oh, the economy is going into a recession, oh, too many migrants, or then it's like, we need economic growth, so we need more migrants. And so that was a thing that started making me sort of tune into local politics, how people talked about people like myself. And then I just realized, like, man, like no one knows what being a migrant is like in Parliament. And the people who like...
The people who are talking about it aren't.
Yeah. And the migrants who are in Parliament, a lot of them do come from like... I by no means ever claim to come from some like poverty-stricken upbringing or anything like that. But like a lot of the migrant representatives in Parliament do come from like running companies type backgrounds. And that's just not the reality of most migrants who have to go through the system. Like if you're coming here as an investor or you have those investment opportunities, like that's a wildly different like immigration experience than kind of feeling like you may literally end up as an overstayer at times.
And does it feel quite sort of, when you see the media and the certain parties scapegoating migrants, does that sort of make you feel like you know, you need to keep them in their place and things like that? And
I try to, but it's so entrenched. Like honestly, even just right now, if you look at like how the national government went from like when they were in opposition, they were all like, oh, we need more migrants. Like the Labour government's not being fast enough on granting visas and granting residency and stuff. Like, and you know, word by word almost, they were saying like, these businesses are crying out for workers. You need to let them in. And then now they're in government. They're like, oh yeah, Labour opened the floodgates. They let in too many migrants. Then they talk about this like low-skilled migrant. And I'm just like, no one can tell me what low-skilled worker or migrant is. And honestly, to me, it's just like, you don't earn a lot of money, so you're low-skilled.
yeah.
I mean, I was one of those low-skilled migrants, like working in hospo at the time.
A lot of migrants do come here and work in hospital, don't they? And,
Yeah, but also like a lot of locals do as well.
Yeah.
So like when you talk about low-skilled migrants, you're basically telling a lot of locals like you're low-skilled, you have no skills. And like jobs like hospo, like I would say taught me way more about how to be a politician than any politics lecture would have ever done. You have to deal with difficult people. You have to learn to
getting
actually...
down and dirty.
Yeah, like, no, but actually, like, the skills that I think I can use as a politician, I learned them working in hospital, not at university. Yeah.
It is interesting how, like, I think what I've noticed, especially like recently with even just like everything going on with Palestine, is how language really matters in how you portray it. Like, especially like in the media, like the rhetoric actually, you read something, you're like, okay, this is how it is then, or like, you know, that's, you could read it that way, but like actually like, yeah, like for example, not using the word genocide, using it as war or a conflict, like, yeah, just like low skilled, that's not actually a good representation of what that job is or how hard that person's working. It's like, yeah.
I do think language matters, absolutely, you're
Yeah.
100% right, like language does matter, and how we talk about communities makes a huge impact, right? Because then if you're basically talking about a whole lot of communities as if they're just numbers, you're encouraging other people to think that way. And if you talk about, say, for example, you know, the passive voice that is often used by politicians and some journalists around when Palestinians die, and is that passive voice of like, oh, Palestinians died as opposed to were killed by someone, versus some groups get the benefit of being talked about in that more active way of like, oh, they were killed by a specific
Collided
agent.
with
or
a missile.
Yeah, that's right. And with migrants, like if you talk about, for example, like politicians focus on net migration and they just talk about the number of migrants that came into the country, people just think of them as like a swarm as opposed to just people with goals and dreams. Or if they talk about needing to fulfill businesses' needs, you forget you're talking about people who like uprooted their whole lives to come here. And so it just contributes to that, I think. And so yeah, like language really does matter. And I'm a big fan of, like people often talk about it, like people who care about language, they get labeled as like woke or like really sensitive, but actually language
just
gets
thinking before you speak.
Yeah, but it's thinking, but it's like actually right-wing people and the people who like criticize progressive politicians or activists for being, you know, woke, for caring about language. Those right-wingers also care about language. Like they're really
smart.
purposeful about language. And they're very intentional about the language they use. So like when we're being intentional about the language we use, we get labeled as something derogatory, but actually, I think everyone has an intent with the language they use, including right-wing politicians who criticize the left for being precise.
That. Yeah.
Maybe we should talk a bit about the recent election
Oh, yeah.
that happened.
What? Come on, why didn't you win?
Yeah.
Come on.
Because
I was pretty happy with our results.
I mean, it's the best result the Green Party's ever had.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting considering how the other parties have gone. But I live in the Mount Albert electorate.
Oh, yeah?
And
Nice.
it was really interesting.
And I didn't vote no.
And I didn't.
Hey, it's a free country.
It's a free country. No, but it was really interesting to see sort of the, national almost sort of getting in there. How does that make you feel, sort of, quote unquote, splitting the vote? Because obviously, you're more than entitled to run for an electorate, as any politician is.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? How would that make you feel if National won that seat?
So I think two things here, right? Like, actually, electorate seats don't tend to determine which party is in government. So, like, our results in Mount Albert would have not changed whether National or a progressive government would have been in place. It would have determined who the local person is. And I think that's actually quite important because people think when they think about their local candidate vote, like, oh my gosh, if I vote for someone who's not the sort of incumbent or the strongest party, I'm enabling the other person to come in and bring that government in, and that's just simply not true. And I think in the case of Mount Albert, you're right, like National had a really strong result. I think that a lot of that didn't have to do with Melissa Lee, who was a national candidate campaigning really hard, but rather a sentiment turning against Labour.
Yeah.
And Mount Albert is one of the safest Labour seats. I mean, I hate the term safe seat because it kind of implies people taking their communities for granted, but Labour does tend to have really strong results. And so, to be honest, like, I will never take any of the blame for Labour having a poor result in this area because that was up to them. They'd historically held Mount Albert for ages.
Yeah.
They're within their right to campaign really hard, and they didn't. And so we did our best, and I think we're well positioned to continue growing that result. And I mean, the same way Chloe's shown in Auckland Central, Tam did it in Wellington Central, and Julianne and Rongotai. I think there is that mood for change. And I think actually people in Mount Albert and other areas, they're kind of thinking a little bit outside of the box. It's like part of the system we have allows you to vote for not just red and blue, and more people are kind of are exercising that ability to think outside of the two-party system. But we definitely, like Helen White definitely was being very critical about our strong campaign. And
A word that was used a lot, which I think comes up in the broader discussion about the Green Party a lot, and I think hampers growing that party, is the word naive. People thinking that either, running a campaign against another left-wing candidate is naive, and that in general there's this idea amongst a lot of people in New Zealand that the Green Party is too naive or idealistic.
I think we don't need to fight on I don't fight in the enemy's frame, right? Like, I don't fight to disprove what right-wing politicians are talking about us. And whether those narratives seep a bit into the community, it's a whole other thing. But we win by focusing on the issues that people actually care about. We don't win by telling people we're not naive. And I think, if anything, we've proven a lot of commentators wrong by winning Auckland Central twice and then winning Wellington Central and Rongotai. And having the strong result that we did in Mount Albert actually was beyond what many people were saying we could have achieved.
What was the percentage again?
It was like about 30, 22 or something like that. Yeah, or to be honest, I probably should check the final electoral commissions. But my point being is that it ended up being a 3-horse race. And I think that the naivety kind of comment, I would turn it outside and upside down and say we're imaginative and we're willing to actually tell the legacy parties that different things can be possible. And if that's labeled naive, I think that's often used by those parties to stop different things from being able to happen. I think if there are members of the public who feel that we're enabling a right-wing government by running a strong campaign, that's just more a matter of having those deep conversations with voters to kind of unpack where that fear is coming from. Because if it's not coming from a place of facts, then it's probably coming from a different set of fears, right? And so I think the way we win is just by talking to voters face-to-face on the ground and running those strong campaigns, not dispelling myths about the Greens. Because I could spend my whole political career literally dispelling the myths. Replying to the comments. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Checking the Insta.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comments out there on Facebook. Plenty to sift through.
Oh, we don't really do Facebook.
Oh, you don't
much.
really do
No.
Facebook.
Like,
Yeah.
That's fair.
Not where you're winning your votes on Facebook.
well, especially not young people votes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
My Facebook feed is just a bunch of AI images about cakes and like
About
honest,
cakes,
like
yeah.
a 100-year-old woman who made her first peach cream
God.
filling cake. Anyway, my point being is that like that is the quality of content my Facebook is giving me right now. So like yes, I'm not compelled to have a lot of visibility there. And then also on top of that, Meta just punishes progressive politicians for existing. So like it's honestly not the most useful platform to actually talk to voters.
Yeah. What did you think of in the recent election, the sort of, I mean, definitely more so in this election than any other election, I think, the unwoke versus wokeness that we've seen in the recent election with, New Zealand First and ACT and, some of the comments they were making in the debates. What did you sort of think of that? Do you think that we're getting into a dangerous level of people making comments or politicians making comments that they shouldn't make?
I think politicians just being a bit out the gate. It's like, honestly, I don't think that's changed. Like, if you look at what Winston Peters said throughout his career, like, he's always had the most unhinged things to say. So, like, I don't think that's changed so much as, like, it's the landscape in which those things are set. Like, so, for example, the fact that a lot of this plays out on social media where, like, you're having, like, a real, proper, real human interaction. And so I think it's the landscape that is changing, not so much the politicians themselves. But, and it's an age-old thing to use, like, Māori, to use migrants, to use queer people like as a scapegoat to like talk about queer rights as if it was like a woke thing. That's not a new thing. It's like, people have been doing it for ages. I think for me, the key thing for us is that shouldn't distract us. And I think a lot of that is coming from people feeling threatened, like threatened about their usual way of doing things that have actually not benefited most people being at risk. And so they use the culture wars as a way to distract people from actually the threat of a system change. And that's why I try to not get too caught up on like the culture wars stuff that those parties tend to really push for. And that doesn't mean we don't want to talk about queer rights or indigenous rights, migrant rights, etc. It's just that like we want to play the game of talking around like, responding to Winston Peters calling us woke, shrill lefties.
So
like,
you're saying you've never clapped back, like in the comments, like being like,
oh, I mean, if there's a good chance to clap back, I'll take it.
Yes,
But to be honest, like
okay.
a lot of it is just inviting like 100 bot accounts on Twitter
Yeah.
to reply to me.
To be
Like, have you
fair,
checked
like-
have you seen my replies on Twitter?
no,
Like, it's pretty,
That's
it's pretty
excellent.
fucking dire. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like, I'm sorry, but is Winston Peters even like looking after his socials? Like, does he?
Oh,
even
he
know
probably
how to
doesn't
work
post
them?
himself. No,
That's
no,
another
no,
bar.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
7 staffers, I think, Chris Luxon has
Yeah.
for his TikTok. How many do you have for your social medias?
I mean, we share like a content creator amongst the 15 of us. A lot
Amongst the
of it is-
15 of
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Okay. So,
So you probably won't see
115.
me like doing like the temple run on the right hand
Yeah,
side
yeah.
and me
Oh my
like
gosh,
talking
Subway
while
Surfer.
somebody
Yeah,
cuts
yeah.
like a cake. Yeah, like I don't have the production
I
like
think the one where they like
Yeah.
catch the coins in their mouth and then you have to see all these national MPs with like their mouths open. I think it's like, oh, maybe they just move
Yeah,
their
yeah,
heads.
yeah.
I
I
don't
hate
think
it.
I've seen that one.
Yeah, not good.
I mean, but it's got to win. There we go. Hey, good.
But in the interest of unity, obviously the classic question, the other side of the aisle, all those lovely colleagues of yours, which one do you respect the most? And sort of,
I'm not interested in the unity bit.
yeah.
So like, to be honest, like, I'm like, I call bullshit on this whole thing that it's like we gotta like have a collegial relationship with like people who literally hate my community. It's like, I don't care.
Oh my God.
But like, I think if I was to be like, okay, fine, who can like,
Who's most tolerable?
like, I wouldn't even say tolerable. Like, I think it's like, who can be a competent right-winger? Like, who can be like a competent, terrible politician? Like, I would say, probably like, I really hate her politics, and she's like genuinely say some really fucking horrible stuff. But like, you know what? Erica Stanford knows what she's doing. She used to be a TV producer. She knows how to work the media. Like, she knows how to do what she needs to do to get her message out, even though the messages are horrible. And by no means I respect it.
Next leader.
But I think, I think there's people who understand what they got in there to do.
Yes, yeah.
And there's some politicians you can tell they're like clueless. But doesn't mean I'm interested in like.
What about in Labour? Who's your buddy?
Oh God!
Come on.
Okay.
You can't say you hate them all.
No, I can't. Who do I work with
You
Labour?
might be working with them very soon.
Oh look, I got to work quite a
Yeah.
bit with Ibrahim Omar last term.
Oh, yeah.
Around migrant
Too bad
exploitation.
Tam voted him out.
Well, it's actually too bad Labour ranked him really low on the list. So
Yeah.
they claim they care about diversity. They could have put like their one former refugee MP way higher on the list. So like that's on Labour, not on us. But I got to work with him
Nice.
closely on migrant exploitation stuff, and that was really pleasant. And it's not often you get to meet politicians who like you know they actually care about the constituencies they serve, and he really did. Yeah.
So you're not on the parliamentary cricket team then, or
No.
or the rugby
Like
team?
again, like
That was a no.
Yeah, the
optics,
big
man. Like everybody cares so much about these like optics of everybody getting along, and like if I want to play, I actually don't know how to play cricket. So like if I want to learn how to play cricket, it wouldn't be with other politicians.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And if I'm going to be spending my weekends like playing sports, it'll be with people I actually like.
So
Yeah.
I think maybe you'd prefer maybe a Nintendo Switch team.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
you, if there was like a multiplayer?
I'm one of the few. I'm
yeah.
one of the few gamer MPs in Parliament,
saw
and by
that.
few,
Yeah.
probably like one of two.
Wait,
Like
do you know the other?
Lawrence, who like just got in.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Gen
Like Tiana
Z.
playing
Yeah.
like mobile games you see advertised on Facebook
yeah.
do not count.
So what's the best game ever?
Ever. Oh gosh, no, don't. I mean, like, okay, I'll tell you like what was my favorite game last year.
Yeah,
maybe.
okay,
Like
that's better.
Baldur's Gate. That was
I
that was
love Baldur's
three,
Gate.
of course. But.
You two need to hang out.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like you're getting all my references. It's great.
Yeah.
Like,
Wait,
from
what
what Spy
console?
Family-
Is that PC or is
it's
You
PC.
can do easily,
yeah.
PC
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Xbox. But you
I
can-
really like Elden Ring. I haven't finished any of these games. I'm about to tell you. Like I start them and then I get busy with the job, and then so like I've got all these games that I've started and haven't finished. But like Elden Ring is great. Baldur's Gate is great.
Did you finish that? Because that's an expansive game.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Yeah,
No.
it's long.
Yeah.
Are you evil or
Hades
good?
is probably one of my top 3. If you played that one, it's great. Yeah.
fantastic? Wow.
Oh,
Speaking of games,
speaking
Speaking
of
of games.
games.
Oh no.
Maybe we
Drinking
should
game?
play a little game. We did have a game
Okay,
prepared,
great.
didn't we?
You're lucky you don't have to play what we played last week with Tom Rutherford from the National Party.
Oh. Okay.
so this game,
is
it's a
easier.
game everyone knows. I'm sure you've played it once or twice before. Basically, we get someone. It's put on your forehead. You get to ask a yes or no question until
You're right.
you finally
Oh,
figure out.
Oh
who
yes,
they
yes, yes.
are.
I
Yeah,
know this
okay.
game.
Yes,
Cool.
yeah.
Sorry, this is a moment where I was like, damn, I'm gonna look like such an out of touch
Well,
politician.
No,
Like,
no.
No, to be fair, I'm actually rubbish at this particular game because
Okay.
my mind like can't restrict to like a specific
So
thing.
am I the one putting it on my forehead?
Well,
I think we're
doing
all
it.
going to
Okay,
do
great,
one. and
great.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Is there like a theme? What
Yeah,
you
are
saying?
we? Anyone?
Oh, well, we discussed which one we would give.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm doing Dom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Famous person.
And
Okay,
I'll,
famous
Maybe
person.
politics.
I'll do
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I was gonna be like,
Okay.
I'll just
Makes
keep it
sense.
like, yeah.
Oh my gosh, wait, I should have really thought about this before, like we all
on.
sat down. Sorry, I'm just gonna have a look at what who you got.
Oh no, I feel like yours may feel pointed, but I swear. it's
No,
not.
that's all right.
I love the one you. Okay, so this is.
Point to the
Yeah,
camera.
okay.
This is what they are. Okay, so how do we? I can't even remember.
So it's a yes or no
Okay.
question.
Yes or no only.
Sorry, you
Okay.
can only get yes or no answers, but you can ask anything, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll ask first, is there someone living in New Zealand?
It sure is.
Okay, and then I think we move on. Or do I keep going till I
Nah,
get
we'll
it
go-
wrong?
No,
go
no,
in
he's
set.
go
Yeah.
around.
Okay, great. So me next.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is this a member of parliament?
No.
No.
Okay.
That was such a confident no.
Do I identify with he/him pronouns?
No.
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 Okay.
Am I a politician?
Yes.
Yes.
Am I a female? She or she, her pronouns. Sorry.
No.
No.
Okay.
Am I a fictional character?
No.
No.
Am I a politician?
No.
No.
Oh.
Am I a male?
No.
No.
Okay.
In New Zealand. Am I in the entertainment / arts.
You were once.
Yeah,
Once
I was
upon a
going to be like,
time.
depends who you ask.
Okay.
No, this is not
Okay.
helping. Like, I would say like not right now,
Not now.
but
okay.
once.
Once.
Yeah.
Potentially a retired art / entertainer.
We're totally not following the yes/no
No.
thing here.
And I was of. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry, I need to remember what.
Not fictional. Do I live in Auckland?
No.
No.
You gotta move your fringe.
Oh yeah. Am I in the world of film and TV?
Like adjacent.
Yeah, adjacent.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah.
Am I from New Zealand?
Yes.
Am I under the age of 30?
No.
No.
Okay.
Am I under the age of 30?
Yes.
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 Huh. And not a politician. I'm going to be screwed.
You are.
Like, I hope this is not my pop culture knowledge being tested.
All right. I
Um.
think Donald actually might be the.
Yeah, I'm struggling.
I love the one I gave you.
Okay. Am I a musician?
Yes.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
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 You sure wanna be?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Am I from a politically right-leaning party?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So I used to like be slaying it in entertainment, and now
I mean,
like.
slang maybe
Oh
like.
God. Okay. Oh.
Oh god.
Okay.
I wouldn't say slang.
That's
but
that's
Some
good
may
to
disagree.
know. Okay. So like, he needed to sit down.
Yes.
Okay. That's
Was
my
that your
question. Did he need to
Yeah.
sit down? Okay. The answer is yes. Okay.
Yes.
Greta Thunberg.
No.
No.
That would have been good though.
Yeah.
I was like something Green Party coded.
Yeah.
Like,
No. There's your clue. It's not.
It's not good fun.
In
good.
it's not Green Party. Oh, okay,
Here's-
thank
let's
you.
start doing clues.
Okay, we'll do clues.
Oh,
In
okay.
fact, this person has been speculated to be a Trump supporter.
Yes.
Oh.
Interesting.
Oh.
Wait.
Okay, now you give me a clue.
Oh, I'll give you
Yeah.
a clue.
Oh yeah. Okay.
They've sort of been on TikTok a lot recently
So true.
I don't have TikTok.
for talking about, if they were to start a podcast, who would they bring on as a guest?
Well, I think I know mine.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Can
Go.
I, Taylor Swift?
No.
She was speculated.
Yes,
She
there's more
was.
than one
There's
out
more
there.
than-
God.
Yeah.
Still also
Yeah.
blonde though. Okay, I'm giving you a clue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wait, I could totally just give a clue that gives it away.
She loves Jesus.
She loves
She claimed once she loved Jesus.
Jesus. Am I Erica Stanford?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh.
What's a good clue for my person?
He fell off a scooter in Parnell.
Oh, you said this last week.
Oh no, wait. Are you sure that's the right politician?
Bite,
David
sorry.
Seymour?
Oh,
Yeah.
bye.
This has been yeah.
There's a
David
lot
Seymour.
of right-wing associated.
Yeah, I was gonna be
scooter
like, there's a
accidents.
few to choose
I'm
from.
so annoyed I said he slayed it in entertainment.
Yeah, that's why I was like-
really
I was
upsetting.
just thinking of the
Okay.
twerking neon.
Do the gays love her?
They?
Maybe it's like kind of
I
like
think the
guilty
straights
pleasure.
really like
Yeah,
her.
I think it's more
Oh,
straight.
true.
Straights really like her.
Yeah.
Has been in a show that you've mentioned today,
Oh.
but that doesn't actually really help.
Am I from the
Okay.
National Party?
You sure are. Yeah.
Ah. Is my husband Samoan?
Apparently so.
Talofa.
So Talofa.
Is it Judith?
My husband is Samoan, so Talofa.
Judith
That was
Collins.
all I wanted to say.
JC.
As your clue.
Hang on.
Was she also in Parks and Rec?
No. I've given you a.
I know. Well, White Lotus is the only show I think I mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah.
God. Oh, God. Honestly, I'm never gonna guess it. Like, I think I know her face.
Yeah.
Is she the one who like hooked up with a Hawaiian guy?
I think that was the friend,
The
maybe.
friend.
The friend. Oh,
I think-
see, I'm like already
You can take it
screwing
out.
this up. I was just
Not-
gonna say I can.
Not Perth, not Melbourne.
Yeah, but there's like two young girls,
Yeah.
right?
Not
And-
Perth. Not Melbourne.
Is their first name. We really are.
You really assumed that when I said I really like White Lotus, I'd be like, yes, I can name every like.
We're all
I'm gonna-
finding out the
She's
truth
not most
now.
famous for White Lotus. She's most famous for a show called Euphoria.
Well, I haven't seen Euphoria.
You can take it off.
Spare you there. Her name's. Do you know who that is?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I know she's
No.
been on like Twitter a lot.
Oh,
so
right,
Yes.
right, right.
yes,
You
so I
keep
should
yours
know
on.
this.
I want you to guess yours.
She was on TikTok talking about a podcast.
She really wants her ex to
Oh,
be.
I see the Australian.
Sorry,
yeah,
that
I
probably
get it.
was-
I get it now.
Yeah.
She also.
Do I actually know this person?
Referenced herself to be like similar to Britney Spears. She said that she really like takes a lot of inspo from like Elvis and Freddie Mercury and.
This is.
Oh my gosh.
Take it off.
She's
take
done
it
some
off.
bad things.
Who hasn't?
Who hasn't?
This is an issue. I see this name everywhere, and I'm like,
You don't know who that
who's
is.
that?
Okay, Donald had Jojo Siwa for those only listening, and it really
Yeah.
upsets me that like I don't know.
I have no idea who that is.
You're old
I'm-
person coded. You just told us you didn't
Yeah.
have like TikTok.
I-
You like don't know who this
I
is.
need-
Like
Wait, no. She also said that she invented like gay pop as well. That was like another thing
remember
she
that.
said.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think that
Okay, well,
you
you-
need to watch her
you youngins.
YouTube video.
Like as
Yeah,
a,
you know
as a
about that.
politician, I sometimes like do like pop stars saying those kind of things. Like it's the kind of stuff like I could
Really?
never get it. Like
Oh my gosh.
You're living
She's-
vicariously.
It's a marketing,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
she's
yeah.
killed it with people talking about her.
Yeah.
She knows what she's saying.
We've had our fun. You
Ugh,
guys,
fine.
you Gen Z folk have had your fun. Let's
Yeah.
get serious.
wait, how old are you?
I'm 24.
You're
Don't put
technically
us
like
down.
Gen
You're
Z.
Gen
I
Z.
think.
I
Yeah.
am. There's some serious shit happening right now. There's this thing which sounds good. It sounds, going fast. We're fast tracking things. That sounds good.
Uh-huh.
What the hell's that about?
What about fast tracking coal mines? Sound good to you?
That's what it's about?
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Oh no. Oh no, not Freddy the
so
Frog.
it is, it is about, like Shane Jones doesn't. Have you
Yeah.
seen that clip about
Oh,
him?
yeah.
It's
Oh,
wild.
yeah.
He
Is it
really
where I
likes
say
coal.
play the clip or
Play the clip.
Play the
play the
clip.
clip?
there is a mineral, if there is a mining opportunity, and it's impeded by a blind frog, goodbye, Freddie. We are going to extract the dividend from Mother Nature's legacy on the Dock estate in those areas previously called stewardship land.
Tell people who might not know what the fast track bill is and why it matters and what the hell
Why
are the
it's
Green
bad.
Party going to do about it.
Well, we're going to reverse it, but to start off with, this is about bypassing the usual processes that we have when we want to say, when if somebody or a government of the day say, or a company wants to do something like bottom trawling, like destroy the bottom of the ocean to get some
Quick fix.
fish or minerals or whatever, basically, or build a coal mine in conservation land where there may be endangered species or in confiscated indigenous land that is actually, being discussed as an area that should be returned. Normally there's a level of protections and processes that companies would have to go through to be able to do these things. We already have barely any protections in place, but this bill would allow for those projects to bypass all these things and leave it to a small group of people to be able to basically have veto power over whether we have projects and mines that would literally kill endangered species, would compromise people's ability to have clean water. And so the government thinks that this will be a good thing for the economy. We think this is going to destroy the economy because while it may result in short-term gains, you can't have an economy on a dead planet. And at a time where we're trying to meet our climate commitments, the idea of like opening coal mines in New Zealand just seems whack, to be honest. So we've been driving submissions to get people's voices in Parliament to oppose it, and we've committed already to repealing it. And to, we're not going to give compensations to companies that may be granted the ability to start these projects when we cancel it.
So
And-
if projects are in fast track now and just say, Labour Greens or something get in 2026, will you stop those projects?
Yeah, and we've already threatened that and let companies know that there's a change of government. They're not going to get compensation for it. But I think the important thing here is just we shouldn't leave these decisions about the future of our economy, the future of our planet to a group of people in a process that has been super secretive. I mean, people haven't been able to find out what these projects are. So people are trying to submit and to have their voices heard on this bill, but like the government isn't telling them whether this bill may contain bottom trawling, coal mines, etc., and where they will be. So it's really hard for people to actually have their voice heard on this issue, which further adds to this issue of the government enabling polluting industries and corporations to have huge powers. This is about a government that is sending a clear message that they don't care about climate change. They care about short-term profits for corporates. They can't even tell us whether those projects are actually going to result in jobs for local people, whether the benefits and the profits from those companies are going to go to the communities. And if we've seen overseas that often dirty and polluting projects don't tend to benefit local economies. In fact, they often leave long-term harm. I mean, we've seen in the US and in other places where fracking is being allowed, that it actually ends up resulting in communities losing access to things like clean water. And when we enable coal mines and bottom trawling, it could have similar effects in the local systems.
Do you think this sort of shows cracks in the way the New Zealand government works? The fact that the government in power can essentially appoint 3 people to make decisions about everything. Isn't that an elected dictatorship in some ways?
Well, our parliament does enable those things to be set up, right?
Yeah.
But I think it is up to the people ultimately to not elect governments that we get the governments we think we deserve, right? And this is a government that did very explicitly campaign on environmental destruction, on corporate greed, on tax cuts for the rich, and so we're seeing those things in action. I think what it is really problematic, though, is to also put those bills through in secrecy and not allow people to even have all the information they need to have their voices heard as part of that process. And that is ultimately the other problematic part to this. But you're right that ultimately this is eroding local communities' voices' ability to be heard and to stop polluting and destructive projects. And that does actually make our democracy weaker when we destroy a community's ability to stop problematic things. And for example, like, I would love to stop NIMBYs and all conservative people from using processes such as heritage to stop state houses being built. But this is not about good things being built and a few loud voices stopping those. It's about long-term harm and destruction being enabled without people being able to protect their own communities.
Yeah.
It feels like lots of people last year didn't vote with climate at the front of their mind. And it's even young people. I think more young people in Auckland voted National than they did for a left-wing party. So, like, how do we actually get New Zealanders to care about climate change again and make it how they guide their vote, including, you know, young people who really should, because we're going to be living with it for the rest of our lives?
I think too many politicians have talked about climate change as this like abstract thing, right? We talk about climate change as this like targets and kind of carbon units, etc. And I think we need to do a better job at talking of the realities of climate change in a much more day-to-day way and material way. I think in Auckland, with the experience of the floods, people were thinking about climate change, but the reality is in Auckland, as somebody who got flooded, like people were just tired and exhausted. And I do think Labour needs to reflect on the fact that if you don't deliver the transformative change that you promised, people will be looking for change elsewhere. And so I think it's a lesson for the left that you can't just deliver more managing the status quo with a few changes here and there. And while I caveat all of this with having to deal with a global pandemic, there were opportunities to change people's material realities, and the government didn't. So like, I don't blame people for wanting a level of change, and we need to actually be really serious about what is it that we're offering. I think for us in the Greens, like, I find it really heartening to know that, for example, our campaigns around dental were really popular on the ground. But more needs to be done to connect, for example, how climate change is a cost of living issue, how climate change is an issue of transport, how it will affect your jobs. And I think that's how I think we need to be really disciplined of talking about climate change so that people think about it. But, you know, when people think about cost of living being the top issue in their mind, it is a climate issue because the floods affected basically your ability to make ends meet. So I think it's also reframing every issue as a climate issue and not assume that if people are not explicitly saying I'm voting for climate, that they don't care about climate, because even transport is a climate issue, right? But people don't.
Prices.
Yeah, that's
food
right.
Accessibility.
Yeah, cost of living. Now in the election, you guys sort of campaigned on a universal basic income of $380 per person, I think it was. And a lot of people sort of looked at that and sort of thought, how are they going to pay for this kind of thing? What was sort of the Green Party's solution to paying for everyone to be able to have free cash essentially every week. And do you think AI is going to make that more of a reality in the future, having a universal basic income?
Well, I think so I'll start with the second part because I love this conversation for AI and there's like a lot of scaremongering about AI taking all the jobs, and it's probably it's not going to happen like in the way that it's being talked about. But technologies do displace people, and new technologies such as AI could free us, could give us more free time, but they can also just take away people's jobs. And a good safety net, like the guaranteed minimum income we campaigned on, was critical to supporting people who may be displaced as new technologies come. I'm like I just told you, right? Like I was one of those projectionists who used to use film.
Yeah.
I got replaced by a literal machine who you plug a USB. That was used in my job to basically prevent my wage from going up in the same way that it could have. And that's happening already in IT spaces with coders and other, and even in content creation spaces, like a lot of software is displacing kind of more technical skills that people would have been using.
ZAZI's eyes going.
So like some people may need to retrain, some people may need to move jobs, and that guaranteed minimum income is one way to fix it. How we would have paid for it is by taxing wealth and taxing.
Sounds unfair. You want to steal rich people's money?
I mean, we just want to redistribute it. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty common sense, I think, taxing wealth. It's just this idea that like no one should be able to accumulate millions and millions of dollars, and the idea that allowing people to accumulate millions of dollars benefits others, it's honestly been disproven time and time again. We actually found on the ground that the idea of a wealth tax was actually quite popular, and polls actually also show that people do want a wealth tax. So this idea that there was like this huge backlash against it is not proven true. We just need to get better and more disciplined at campaigning it on the ground and being committed to it. And the way that, for example, Labour showed us what happens when a party and a government can be clear about their goals on tax. And I do think it probably cost them the election, from tiptoeing around saying that there's wealth inequality to then keeping the system the same.
So your 5-step plan for making cheese less expensive. We asked our last guest this. We were disappointed with the answer. What's your 5-step plan? And then we're going to hit him with the, what's your 5-step plan?
Hit him with the ...
Yeah, great, love it. So our 5-step plan to making cheese more affordable at the supermarket would be by strengthening the Commerce Commission's ability to tackle supermarket duopoly and break the supermarket duopoly. We should have better funding for locally run markets. At the moment, local producers have very few spaces to sell their products outside of supermarkets, and a lot of that has to do with like lack of council land or government-owned land available for that. So that would be the other part, creating better pathways for local producers to take their products to consumers. And then the other one is around addressing, like, cheese feels expensive because you're already spending, for example, a lot of your money on rent. So like whatever you literally have left, you have to pay a lot for cheese. That feels unfair. So making the people's biggest expense, housing, cheaper will mean people will be able to buy more cheese. So rent controls will play a huge part on that, and more state housing will too.
Vegan cheese.
I don't know how many points that was.
Cheese, because it will go up again once agriculture's put in the ETS.
Sure. But I think at the end of the day, like, supermarkets are making cheese expensive, right?
Yeah.
So like people should still be able to eat their halloumi if they want to.
They should.
And supermarkets shouldn't vegan halloumi if there's such thing. But,
so we asked Tom last week if he would start Tom's cheese shop, Tom's grocer. What would you think about a government-run supermarket, a third entity?
Yeah, sure. I mean, not like Kiwi built, right? But I do think that the government should have a stronger role in the provision of food. I mean, this is why free lunches are so important and could be improved upon. Like, I think the idea that you have to pay for something that literally keeps you alive is whack. Like, it does not make sense to me that literally we've created a system by choice that means people may not be able to afford the one thing that keeps you alive, that you need energy, to just exist. And so absolutely, if a government-owned competitor helps lower those prices, that's fine. But I also think we need to actually be more imaginative than that. Expanding school lunches is a great way to actually start socializing that food is just the bloody ride. And like, the idea that it's okay, some people may go without eating, and that actually may deteriorate the health straight up kill them doesn't make sense. So I think the more we can do to create a system where people don't have to pay for food, the better. Yeah.
Have you ever had a girl dinner?
And Parliament, probably far too many times.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, what's a girl dinner? Like, what's one of
A
your
little
classic girl dinners?
like little coquette bow with like a sad piece of dark chocolate
Yeah.
and
Yummy.
Yeah.
maybe like
It's already sounding so filling. Like
yeah,
you're
so
already-
filling. Yeah, like some pistachio nuts, just like and they're
Oh,
like
yeah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really vape, but if I did, I would just put like the vape on the side.
I know
Yeah,
because
with
that
a
does
side of
make
vape.
you
Yeah.
not so hungry. So there you
Yeah,
go.
that's the solution to
That's
our
the
hunger poverty
Well, that's what the
crisis.
government probably like. The government's like, yeah, girl dinner
Anti-smoking.
for all. Yeah.
Yeah. Forget
Smells
school
like mango,
lunches.
right? So
Yeah, you know, like
mango.
they're probably all like, yes, of course the vapes chill. Like we love
Yeah.
tobacco industry.
They're
Uh-huh.
actually cutting funding to school lunches and giving every kid a vape. You know, maybe that's the solution.
Expensive. Thank you so much for that.
All that
vape.
tax,
Yeah.
all that
Yeah.
tax money. Do you think New Zealand is rich enough to make sure that everyone is well fed and has a place to live?
Hell yes. I mean, have you seen how much money like rich landlords accumulate in their back pocket? Like, we absolutely do have enough wealth in this country.
I heard 2.9 billion more now.
Yeah, well, that's right. No, like, but I mean it though. We do have enough wealth, and this is not about like there's enough wealth in this country for everybody to have a good life, and it is a choice to have people who don't have enough money. Like that is literally by design. Like it's not just a byproduct of something else. Like people make decisions in politics to have people who don't have enough, and then people who have a stupid amount of money. So absolutely, money can be redistributed in that way, and you know, Chloe and as a finance spokesperson will happily fight anyone who says that will basically make rich people move out of the country. And if they like, and it's funny because when people say, well, people will sell their homes because of your wealth tax, I'm like, yeah, like if you're one of those guys that owns 70 homes and you start selling maybe 50 of those to first-home buyers, like surely that's not the end of the world. Like, so like if it's some landlords leave the market and sell their like second, third, or fourth property to other people, like the government could buy it and turn it into state housing, or some first-home buyer could probably attain it. Like that's not a bad thing if those rich people choose to do those things as a result of redistributing money better.
Wow. And do you think if, in the same way that the New Zealand government has shares in a company like Air New Zealand or as a stakeholder, do you think if the government were to make another free market supermarket to break the duopoly, back to my communist supermarket idea that I gave to Tom Rutherford, but not a full
Proudly.
communist supermarket, but it's like a free market supermarket that the government just has shares in and it's run privately like any other business. Do you think that would work?
Yes, except it shouldn't be run as any other business. Like part of, again, as a Marxist, it may not be my ideal solution, but I think you're into something, right? I think part of the benefit of having a state-owned supermarket is that they don't have to just maximize profits, which is what supermarkets do right now, right? Everything they do, it's just to supersize their profits. They do some little social programs on the slides to do PR image.
1 million a day.
Yeah, like, but a state-owned supermarket can consider other factors other than just maximizing profits, and therefore can make decisions around the prices of food that they sell that isn't just about maximizing profits. So yes, within the current system, having a state-owned supermarket that wasn't just about maximizing profits would be a great thing. But ideally, like I said, you know, you said the words, not me, a communist supermarket would probably make food free.
Right,
like, you know, and we would be subsidizing that through other means and through kind of like the production chain actually wouldn't come from a place of wanting to make profit. And that would be a complete redesign and reimagining of the system. But I think the first step of having the supermarket you want is where we could start. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, you know, I always thought it's interesting that Labour and Greens want to break the duopoly, because that's a very right-wing thing to want more competitors into the market.
You'd never see me say the words, I want more competition.
You don't want more competition?
Like, look at all my PRs and markets, I never talk about more competition. Like, that is some like free market kind of bullshit thing. Like, yes, of course, more competition in theory makes things cheaper, but like, we do need to get to the core. It's like, again, why do people need to pay for food? Like, honestly, like we should be brave enough to be asking those questions of politicians and each other. Like, why is it that we designed the system that means we have to get some other company to sell us food cheaper so that we can live and not starve? Like, that's a broken system, if you ask me. So that's why you'll never hear me saying more competition is the panacea to this issue.
Yeah.
ZAZI, last question. Make it a good one.
Last question.
No hype. No, I'm fading.
No cap.
Okay, well, if we're talking about food, this is a really good one that my friends and I always talk about. If you are going on a date and you ask someone out on a date, is it your role to pay or is it a split?
It's a negotiation.
Negotiation.
Always. I think it's always a negotiation.
Is it
like,
with the card?
Oh my god.
Kinda, like, but I
me
think that's
pretending
kind
to
of
get my
okay.
card out.
Yeah.
I'll pay.
Yeah, like I like this is gonna sound like this is such a politician answer because it's like me giving you anything but like a straight up yes or no. But I do think it's a genuine negotiation, right? Like, what if you're like, if you're somebody on my salary, like I will be offering probably to like pay, but like the other person may not want to feel like belittled, you know, like because they maybe are like, you know, like. So anyway, my point being is that I do think it's always the kind of thing you just openly discuss, and you shouldn't assume out of some kind of weird role about who invited. I think that applies to a lot of things in life. Like just every relationship is a constant negotiation.
What if it's like, do you want to help pay? And then like low key, like, I don't want to help pay, and I just go, no.
Oh, I mean, I think that you just need to be more assertive, like about your needs.
Say no. That's
I mean, we could turn this podcast into like a dating advice by politicians.
I got some last week.
Yeah,
Go to
Tom-
time zone, I was told.
Yeah,
Hang out
Tom
in time
Rutherford.
zone.
See
Yeah, I
Tom
mean,
Zone.
as a gamer, I'd be like, yeah, let's go play some Dance on Revolution
might see
at
Tom
Time
there.
Zone.
Yeah.
Not with Tom, though. I won't.
There's no unity.
Before
No
we let
unity.
you go, just in terms of MP's salary, just because we asked it last week as well, do you think you should earn less?
I think I'm open to that, yeah. And I think it's, I also don't want to do on this populist thing where it's like, my key thing is people should earn more. Like, honestly, the issue with politicians' salary is that people come with fuck tons of wealth already. Like, so like, the MP job helps people who already have wealth to have more wealth. So a good example was like, if you own an apartment and then you can use your MP perks to like pay the mortgage.
Who did that?
Like, that's whack. So like, I think my thing is like, getting too caught up about reducing MP salaries doesn't help teachers and nurses earn more money. Like, so like, sure, I'm happy to have the conversation, but ultimately my goal is that teachers, nurses get paid as much as MPs. That would be great. And there is the money to go around to actually have much more equal salaries around that. Because it's not about making everyone poor. I want all of our like frontline people to earn as much as politicians do.
Oh, that'd be a dream.
That'd be a dream.
Yeah.
Worth fighting for.
Worth fighting
We're fighting.
for.
A negotiation.
There we go.
Yeah.
Title.
Title.
We called it mental wealth. We didn't really talk about.
Oh, we're talking
mental
about
health.
wealth.
We did talk
just a
about
good
wealth.
rhyme.
Yeah.
Hey, food is health.
Food is health.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Health, wealth.
Oh,
yeah.
what about the Make It 16?
Oh, they
Tom
support
Rutherford.
that.
Oh, you support
Oh
that.
yeah.
You-
Of course I
was
support
quite-
it.
It was quite good last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What
Tom
did he
But
say?
I actually think this is a great example. Not all young people think the same.
Yeah.
And like actually, I'm a hater of like anything that codes young people as like some like homogenous voting bloc. Tom Rutherford is a great example of a young person who has like terrible views. But you know what? He's also young, and he's allowed to have those horrible views. And I think if we want to
time
treat
to
young
learn.
voters with respect, we need to actually not assume they all think the same. Tom Rutherford is a great example of that.
That's a great end. to the-
Like,
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank you.
Ricardo.
That was
Good.
awesome.
Hey, get the hang of this.